Hey guys, good evening.
Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Hello.
Yes, Joe, good evening.
Good evening.
Too many challenges nowadays, right? All are getting like people are getting sick, and the road is also becoming very sick because of the heavy traffic in it.
Yeah.
Terrible. Every morning it takes around like almost 2 hours to reach office from home. Huh?
Serious? 2 hours?
Yeah, almost, because my workstation is in Subang, and I stay at Putrajaya. So it takes around, even if I take the federal highway, it takes around like 1 hour 45 minutes like this.
Wow. I think probably if you go out earlier, then you can resolve that issue.
I mean, even if you start at dark, so everyone also thinking in the same way that you have to start a bit early. So people are very smart, you know. So all start early and the road gets sick, you know.
Is this about the traffic jam?
Hi, Priya. Yeah.
Guys, we are with a classic 100-year puzzle, which no government is managing to solve it.
No one, because everyone is thinking like, we all are thinking like Joe, we have to start a bit early, and even if we start early, we see everyone is starting early.
Yeah, there will be some early starters, there will be some late starters. So in any case, you'll be stuck in the jam, guys. So don't
Yes.
sweat, expect it. All right, okay, how are we today?
Very few
Good.
presents.
Awesome. Cool. Just give me a minute. Can you see my slide?
Yes.
You should be seeing 21 and just transiting just so
Yep.
you let me know.
23
Yeah.
now.
Cool.
22,
Perfect.
21. Yep.
So I am going to buy in for slides. No more present PowerPoints. Somehow it has an issue syncing into a monitor. All right. Cool. We were at this point yesterday, all right? So we were trying to do a 2x2 prioritization. We discussed about what is the 2x2 prioritization matrix. I use it every day in my work, even for some management decisions in one or the other way, because 2x2 is like quite popular in for those who know Harvard Business Review journals and stuff. Those Harvardians are very familiar with this 2x2 matrix application. So I'm a big fan of this. That is why I wanted us to practice a bit of it. Like I said, it just looks, guys, don't think I'm looking away from you. I'm looking at the bigger monitor for my eyes, right? So, so the 2x2 matrix goes by 4 quadrants. Like I said, it's towards an effort in the lower, in the x-axis, and towards the value in the y-axis. And if you think, we took an example of the goal steering yesterday, I remember, and the karaoke station set up in the luxury car. So in our case, it was more about Q2 and Q4, if I'm not wrong, with assumptions that I plotted. So it could end up anywhere in these 4 quadrants, and that could be an indicator for you to prioritize how you want to map your MVP. Because the next stop, when we discuss, we'll be talking about roadmap preparation. So this prioritization will then reflect on what is coming up in which point of the time in the year or the next year. So let's spend some time, go back to your GA example, go back to your luxury Cedar model example, and go back to your LOE that you have done, the Moscow model you have done as well. So you should be there at the Moscow inputs. And now apply that based on your Moscow inputs, apply that low effort, high effort, or low value, high value on each of your features that you have listed. Plot them in this 2x2, okay? I'll talk about this a bit later, but we won't be practicing this in the class, okay? It's a bit one more layer of complication when you prioritize, and I'll tell you on what cases people use this generally, okay? Now, I suggest we apply and try out the 2x2 matrix because that is straightforward and intuitive as well. So let's spend some time to do the 2x2 matrix back in your example. Is it okay, guys? We will take not more than 6 minutes max, because you already have the effort, you already have the listing. You just have to decide which is a low effort, which is a high effort, or is it a low value or a high value according to you?
But I have a problem. My partner not yet in.
Sure. I mean, since it's an intuitive exercise, do you want to give it a shot yourself, Joe?
Okay, I'm okay.
Cool, yeah. Tanzil, you there for us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Sure.
So in that case, like as Joe said, so there will be an issue because the teammates are not there.
Yeah, so like what I said to Joe, maybe in those cases, because it's not technical, it's quite intuitive, right, with the features. So we can practice with whoever we have on the room.
Okay, so let's make it random.
Yeah. If we make it random, there's a challenge because everyone will have their own list.
Okay.
So just go back to the group. That's okay. But the challenge, but the thing is, for those who don't have the partners, will then have to do it for themselves.
Yeah, probably like Suzanne and me, you can put us in the same room because
yeah,
I guess Suzanne also don't have partner. Yeah.
Okay, in that case, you just help me out on that way. They just type your peer name so that I can manage this one manually this time, because yesterday arrangement I have to do the same. So please do remember your peer and just type it here.
Awesome.
Joe, Suzanne, okay.
Cool, Adiba.
to Suzanne. Nick, okay. Zoo Chris. Zoo Chris. Guys, please type your peer name. I am here to receive from
I think we have 7 members.
Dharma and Adiba.
Adiba mentioned she could do alone.
Oh, she's going to do alone. Okay, fine. Then Dharma, who was your peer in that case?
Then,
Seridan, right?
yeah.
Cool. Okay. It's a 6-minute journey, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, great.
I'm going to keep flashing this just in case.
And you have been taken to your group, except Adiba. She will be doing her by herself. So all the best, guys.
Yeah. Tanzil, just wondering, is there a way to capture the screenshot and drop it in any way? Like Zoom allows to.
The same team, right?
Yeah.
You were asking about the team.
No, I'm just asking about the screenshot. For
Yeah,
example,
can.
oh, I can
Yeah.
do it in the Zoom, is it?
Yeah, you can do that one. You can, but you have to save at first and then upload.
Oh, I see. Okay. Maybe then. Hmm.
Meeting is being recorded.
Are we all back? Cool. Yeah. Awesome. So probably at this point, let's do a quick room check. How did we prioritize it? Like, you don't have to tell me what are the features you prioritized, but rather what is your inference from the point let's call our milestones as this. For prioritization, what we did is we first did level of efforts. We had the list of features. We mapped the level of effort either in the PRB, the pebble rock boulder, or the t-shirt cycle, right? So you had an effort estimation. You had a Moscow identifying which are must to have, should, could, won't. And then what you did is you put a 2x2 prioritization based on the effort and value, right? So how much of your priorities changed from your point of effort estimation versus when you started plotting in 2x2? Were there a lot of changes or no change? Oops, that's my screen. Anyone in the room? Ida? What did you notice? What did you feel out of it? You got something useful? An inference?
I'm sorry, Priya, what is your question again?
My question is, you had a level of estimation at one stage, and then you went to put a Moscow method as well, identifying, you said, this is what is important to me, this is not important to me in your team, right? Then when you prioritized it with the value-based, how did it turn out to be? Was the priority still the same, or did that change? Did you had any realizations?
Yeah, it's kind of same. Different little bit, but however, the result is basically is from my partner Dharma. So probably Dharma can share.
Yeah, share screen. Can you see my screen?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Screen, right? Okay. Yeah. So this was our prioritization, and this is our metrics. So we've identified two categories will be in high effort. We put it as Excel early as well, but must have.
Cool.
Yeah. So I think these are the parts that we thought will be like high value and high effort, like municipal and auto drive and autopilot. And we realized that we didn't get anything in the low value and low effort.
Okay. Yeah. So if you see the massage shape, for example, it was your could. Probably you could have it, which is probably nice to have kind of thing. But apparently when you mapped it in 2x2, you realized it is of high value for you.
Mm-hmm.
So this was exactly the inference I was expecting. So when that's the point about 2x2, right? It gives you another dimension to look at your own prioritization, which otherwise you might think a particular feature is must, should, could. It's like a two-dimensional view. But when you start plotting in value versus effort, you tend to think, oh, this I can use it in so many ways. I can put it in so many channels. Hence, I think this is of high value. And that's exactly what, as a product manager, we want to bring to the table in the prioritization discussion. Yeah. So to me, how I use this 2x2 is like a whiteboard session. It could be a Jamboarding, or it could be individually a handout. And I ask people to use a Slido or whatever, right? Like just make it interactive. If it's a whiteboard physical session, all you do is ask people to put the post-its on the list of features that has come up for the prioritization, and then ask them to literally what you guys did. You facilitate the workshop. That's for a quarterly or a half-yearly planning exercise. Super useful and instantly brings multiple stakeholders on the same page. All right. Any other inferences, guys? Anything else? Any inferences on, hey, you know what, this is high value, but we also thought most of our features that we thought was high effort, but then we didn't realize until we did it in the 2x2 mapping. I pointed the last inference on the value. Is there any inference on the effort side? You didn't realize it was high, such a high effort, but when you were mapping in 2x2, you did realize this is super big piece. We can't deliver it. Cool. If it didn't come up, it's okay. But in general, what this 2x2 is, the objective to use it is, it should pop out these kind of questions. Usually when you go through the list, it's a checklist kind of thing, and people just randomly throw values. But when you start plotting in the graph, like a 2x2, and then you ask people to share the insights, number one, brings alignment. Number two, prompts some of the questions on the table, such as, hey, this feature is only a good to have, but it seems to be a high value for us. So should we then switch it back to must have for us, since it's a high value? We all agree it's high value. So that's exactly how the value-based prioritization works. Number three, efforts. Similar with efforts. In this case, we didn't have a case popping up, but there are possibilities that you thought it is a high effort, but apparently when you are in the prioritization exercise, it turned out to be not so high, and hence you wanted to move it to a to-do list, right? That is also possible. All right, thank you guys. Let me just share back. I want to just have a word on the stack ranking. Okay, stack ranking is it's kind of a aggregated ranking method, right? It's also list of features on one side. 2x2 is plotting your effort versus value. This is where if you have a different customer team, okay, who is not part of your daily standards, ceremonies, etc. I have seen in my experiences, we involve them at prioritization points or the roadmap planning exercise, and we from the product owner side or from the product manager side, we explain what the features we are planning, etc. Then get their inputs to map the value for a customer point of view, right? How valuable is this for the customers, for our customers, right? So usually this customer value comes from customer success team in my previous companies, because they are the ones who are like frontliners for the customers. We don't somehow, I'm not a big fan of inviting pre-sales for this customer value mapping, because sales could be highly biased where number is and where their customer, because each salesperson handle a different sales account, so and so. So it could come as biased, but the customer success is more about the overall platform uptake. So we try to use a team that gives kind of a neutral view on a customer value. Okay, in my case, I've used customer success managers to give the mapping value and the rationale behind it. In some cases, we have in fact had 2 rounds of customer value mapping prior to the prioritization exercise. It's properly called as a customer value mapping, and the product managers present the features, and we involve 2 or 3, including marketing teams, to map their customer values, and we share a median or average kind of the ranking. So that's how we work the customer value. But the idea is this: you have a customer value mapping, level of effort is still the same. You have to do it. Any other framework, you still have to do that. And you come up with a score, which is nothing but the multiplication, as you would have figured out. And based on the highest score is the highest rank, right? So meaning that the higher the score is, it takes the higher priority to do. So those are, I mean, this is one kind of stack ranking, which is more used when you have super multiple different verticals to align with. It is up to your imagination, to be honest. I have seen 2 more columns included, not just customer value, level of effort, there is a business value as well. And we had, in our case, we had the C-suite as well. So the business is more the strategy layer, and the C-suite had their own value mapping as well. So we gave ourselves a different layer of controls before we decide this is the priority we want to achieve, right? So yeah, and it's up for you guys if you are a multi-stakeholder company and you want to run it in a bit more complex format. But a simpler one in a small scale and a startup is 2 by 2. It's quite simple. All right, scope creep. I mean, like any other product management. Hazel, go ahead.
Sorry, before we move out, I mean, in the privatization, right? Customer value is fine because we got it from the customer itself. Yeah? But if we ask about the business value, for example, usually if we ask the department or the business, the people who are responsible on that business, it always high. Yeah? Everybody will give a high effort or high value. So how are we going to get a better result from that? Is there a method or techniques to get a better input from that?
We tried this. You're right? So everything is important to business. So the business value, we gave them, I've tried a few times this. We gave them a tier of ROIs. For example, if it is, let's say 10,000 USD to 50,000 USD, it's rank 5, for example. And if it is like 50,000 to 150,000, for example, it's 4, and so forth. So that kind of mapping, and the business has to give the ROI forecast for the value that they are foreseeing, that the map. So anybody, literally any stakeholders who give the value for the individual columns need to have a rationale. So we had a mechanism for them to give us the value mapping. So they can't arbitrarily plug in numbers. For the business, we had a tier of ROIs based on which the value will be decided.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. That brings me to a good point. Just give me a minute. I will try to bring that up. Are you guys seeing my Chrome screen? Okay, cool. So, this guy's name is something that doesn't get stuck in my mind. Confidence meter. This is quite useful, actually. You wouldn't find a lot of mechanisms out there. His idea is quite unique. He comes with the confidence meters, actually, and we have tried that in my current company. I'm trying as well. I think I shared this with you guys, if I'm not wrong. But pretty useful in terms of prioritization, where you have multiple stakeholders and you give them scale on based on which they can mark a value for a particular feature. So everybody has their say, but then as an outcome, you have a value that you map, right? So in this case, it's called an I score: impact, confidence, and ease. Ease is the effort, impact is the business value or a customer value. Confidence is something we don't know how to put a value to. And that is what is this article about, how to indicate your confidence. So this confidence meter covers a few attributes where if you have gone to that extent with these data, etc., then you give your confidence meter score. And then your I score is calculated like this for the confidence value. Then based on that, you prioritize it basically. So it's quite interesting actually. I'll just share this link with you guys here. Okay, there you go. All right. Thanks, Zoom, for bringing that up. Any other questions, guys, before we move on to the scope creep? How are we doing in time? Oh, okay, that's good. Cool. So, scope creep. We all have been there, even today, every day in, day out, as a product manager, we deal with this, yeah? Tell me your experience, your classic experience with scope creep. Which is your most, what do you call, most pushy stakeholder in your case, in your current work, that gives you a scope creep? Inputs? Developers who sees uncertainties and don't flag it up, gives you scope creep, or business that gives you last minute requirements. What's your case? Joe, tell me what's your story like?
Not really have much example, I guess.
Okay. Okay. Anybody here experience the pain of scope creep? It could be both, right, Tracy? It could be both. But in our case, because we are talking about product building, I mean, it would be great to hear from new features point of view. But if you have one for bug ticket, I'm also great. It's just from the scope creep angle.
I have stakeholders that always ask for more test scenarios. That's not really bringing any values.
I see. Okay. Cool. So why I ask this? Because if you have worked previously in a consulting world, this is like your bread and butter of your work. Every day, you will have to deal with requests that are not meant to be part of your scope for deliverable. Every single day. I had worked in consulting world for like about 5 odd years in different companies, but there has never been a day I can recollect where I didn't deal with this. Okay, never been a day. So always you get customer requests, internal stakeholder requests saying that I thought that this story covers that as well. Can I confirm it? That's that's how it creeps in. Okay. I see Dama smiling. So probably you guys have experienced it in one or other ways. Yeah. There could be direct scope creeps where people say, if you're in a client vendor environment, people say that, but other vendors provide it for free, so do it. So that's a scope creep, right? So you have agreed to do 10 features, for example, for X amount, but the client tries to push it more to you, right? So this is in a world of project management I'm talking about. It is the same in the product management as well. Now, it gets a little more complex even in product management world, to be honest, because project management, you have a start of work or a statement of work, which both parties agree, sign to before you start work. Even then, you have all these creepy situations where people can, see through changes. And as project managers, you need to accommodate them because of the client management relationship, internal stakeholder relationship. And there will be a point beyond which you say no. In product, it can get like, if you allow these on a very regular basis, it can get really heavy on your velocity utilization and slowing down your deliverables timeline. And if you are into sprints, you have no way to identify or you have no way to control rather if you keep accommodating the last minute changes, scope creeps. It will look like your team is missing the sprint objective, but the fact is that the underlying reason is that the scope has been extended for a given user story. And this has been repeating itself for the couple of sprints. And that's why your team has been missing the sprint goals. And you see it from the top view, and you only know that this is the user story that has to be completed, 10 user stories, but only 5 completed, 5 is remaining. But the case is 3 of 5, 2 are genuinely delayed, and 3 are like have been increased for the scope from the point of planning. Okay, so quite a painful reason, and it causes a lot of moral issues in the team if not managed well. Why it is a problem in product world? Like I said, we work in iterations. We don't work in statement of work concept. What does that mean? Means iteratively, people have windows to creep the scope, right? To just insert something to their backlog, to insert something to your sprint. So as a product manager, it becomes even more important for us to be vigilant on scope. You need to be clear on what is the job to be done. That is the baseline, right? That is why user acceptance criteria, definition of done, all of these came about. How it can occur, I think we just shared an example, but I mean, let's say we just go through the, cashless payment, our classic example previously we worked. In that example, let's say the job we are trying to achieve is our user should be able to pay frictionlessly without cash. That's a cashless payment that we are trying to achieve. So I board a taxi, I make a cashless payment, I offboard the taxi, that's it. Now, the feature that can possibly go with this is store a user's credit card in the app and charge it automatically, right? So meaning I have a default card store, and when the driver says destination reached, it just take the payment from the credit card automatically. So I go frictionlessly, cash without cash, right? So that could be the feature to achieve the job. Now, what could be the scope creep in this case? Split fare, for example. I'm a business stakeholder and Dharma is the product manager. She's writing a user story to achieve what is just needed, right? Because I say we have 10,000 customers who are like missing the trip because, or who have been raising customer feedback that they want to go seamlessly paying for the rides. So Dharma comes up with a feature, let's store the default payment, and as the taxi driver says reach destination, I automatically detect and put the receipt in the email to the customer. Done, right? Neat. Now I'm the business and I'm telling her, hey, you know what if there are more than one person in the cab? What if there are group riders? So can we then do a split fare as well in this user story? So now it becomes a discussion of scope creep. As a product manager, it is our role to define, hey, this is what the feature is deemed to do. That's a job to be completed, and this feature is doing the job, right? Anything other than what it is doing will become a scope creep in the ideal world of product management. I'm not saying 100% you can achieve, you can be successful in these kind of discussions every single time, but this is the stand that as a product manager we need to follow, because it will become your kind of communication style as you align with your stakeholders. If you let them in, see through one little enhancement for every user story. Imagine if you have to complete 20 user stories in a sprint, you have 20 little enhancements to every user story. So that's how big it can get to. So it is really, really up to the product manager to say, hey, I stopped with actually the job getting done, and this will be a next user story in the next upcoming sprint. And that's it. Okay. Now, this is something that, let's do it a little bit later, okay? Because we have a scope creep exercise for you guys as well on the MVP. What do you think could be a scope creep? Now, regardless of whichever point you are in product management, you always go through these 3 cycles. As you guys know, build, measure, and learn. We have touched this on the UI UX part as well. So in anything, you will go through a build, measure, learn cycle. It is never a linear journey in product management, right? So is the scope creep as well. You will have to go through the build, measure, and learn cycle. You will have to learn what to essentially build for the job to be done, and how to measure it, and then how to rebuild it or iteratively build over it again, right? Now, that is why it is super important to tag it to a metric, the OKRs, going back to your OKRs. Because let's go back to this example. If let's say the job is user should be able to pay frictionlessly without cash, that's a job, right? And you come up with a feature by storing a default credit cards option, right? Now, you instantly have to think, how am I going to measure this? How do I know if I have done this correctly or not? Right? You're doing it to achieve something with the customer. How do you know you have achieved it? Now, maybe you can say, I don't know, like 100 customers in the first 10 days using this option, right? You know, then this feature has been used by the actual customers. Or you can have a dollar value to an extent. Let's say, I don't know, $20 basket size per customer, your high value customers, based on your customer segmentation. Then for that again sets a metric in terms of what to expect and how to measure, right? When you set that metric, what it prompts or what it allows you is take control and then say no to scope creep. You can then, once you align that metric, you can then go to your business stakeholder. In this case, it's me. And Dharma can still tell me, hey, Priya, you know what? You're going to measure only the high value customers who are going to use the $20 basket size, right? So, and I'll be able to do it with this feature itself. So why do I have to implement this? So it's an additional work. And go with the philosophy of product management. You go lean, you go iteratively building it. The first iteration, you're able to achieve that metric, you're able to achieve that cut of the job, you're done. That's the scope you need to stop with. Then anything else that follows is an iteration. Okay. Maybe then let's just hear from you guys. What do you think could be the success metric for this feature? Chat, annotate, voice out.
Maybe the so-called how to say the credit card payment amount reach a certain percentage compared to same period last year, something like that.
Yeah, totally. So you could have a revenue metric year on year or month on month. How many persons store their credit card details? Yeah. You can measure it with number of customers who opted in to store the credit card details. So the more number of people who have stored. Can I then ask, this is an interesting point, right? You have implemented a feature and you are measuring how many customers have used that feature. That is one angle of it. Again, this is a customer value, right? Now the business value angle of it, you can't measure just how many person stored it. The business value always want to know what needle is moved in your business. So it is either a revenue number or customer signups, or let's say anything that's relevant to the business that moves, right? So Suzanne, just to add to your point, this is more towards the customer value, which is nothing wrong to be measured. Remember, guys, don't get stuck in the vanity metric. Okay, the metric that you define for the feature has to show you an indication to make your next move. If let's say there are 10,000 people who have stored the credit card details with us, what would it indicate? It would indicate there is an interest level, for example. It would indicate people trust you to store their credit card details. Then probably it might indicate to you guys to look more about enhanced payment features, so on and so forth. So I'm just elaborating the steps, how a feature and a metric definition and the outcome of the metric measurement can lead to the iteration decision for the feature. So this is how exactly it works, right? So when you define a metric, just think in that iteration view, what would I do with this? When I get the numbers, what would I do with this? Yeah, repetition rate, yeah. Returning customers, probably. Reduce customer complaint, yeah. ROI, definitely, yeah. ROI never bores anybody in the business. Okay. Easier said than done. What if the feature isn't doing its job? Nobody can guarantee you anything in life, right? So similar in product management. You can do everything that's possible to validate or rule out your risk and validate your assumptions with data, facts, interviews, and everything. But until it's hitting the market, actual customers, you would not know how is it going to be responded by the customers, right? So what if it's not doing its job? You have to pivot, learn, and iterate. That's the entire philosophy of product management itself. There are a few real-life cases where the business has learned and pivoted. It could come from a few angles, right? Killing a feature isn't a bad thing, but it's a painful thing. I totally agree. It's a painful process because it has taken a lot of efforts, funds, time, obviously, while you are competing in the market to build that feature, right? And the decision of killing it is super painful and inconvenient. And as a product manager, if you are the one putting forth the recommendation, We often don't want to make unpopular recommendations to the management, but that's partially your job, your key part of the job. You have to be that person who calls out, hey, this isn't doing great. I know we have spent the last 3 months doing this, and this feature has been there active for 2 months, but it's like literally flat usage. I don't see anything being used, but this is taking up for this. We have bought a license that costs us so and so. And if this trend is going for the next 6 months, I think we have lost even the initial investment we have made. So you need to be able to speak these as a product manager to the business. So it could be either a low usage, a flat usage, a very high maintenance costs. It could be that, let's accept the fact, it could be that weak validation of your assumptions at the start. You are hurrying to push it to the market, and that's why it happened. It could be that this feature is not aligned to the goals, or rather the goals has very swiftly changed from the point you decided you want to do this feature. So it could be any of these, like in this real case example of proof. But it is what it is, right? You need to decide when to kill a feature as well. And these are all prompters for you to deep dive into looking at, hey, this feature isn't being updated. Instead of going and banging your heads to it, make some suggestive calls. Call for people, experts from tech, call for people in the business, ask them, give them the facts, what you're seeing from your product manager's lens, and tell them, hey, this is what has been happening. We have spent this much, we are here, and if the trend continues, this is where we will end. What do you think is the right move? But I suggest this is what we should be doing. As simple as that. But if you let go of it, and down the point, at some point, when the business is losing money, I would say it becomes a blame game, and usually product manager is a scapegoat. You know me, guys, I speak real-time language. I don't speak academic language, but this is exactly what happens. And it's super inconvenient to be at that spot. So build a consensus. If you know a feature isn't doing great, flag it up. Much more easier to handle than you're losing money completely and the business is strangling. And when they get to the spot, it becomes super inconvenient. Right. Where are we with time? Okay. Probably let's take a quick 10-minute break. 9:05 Singapore time. We resume. Is that okay? Cool. See you back. trying to give a profile of the guest speaker for you guys. So you know what are the, I mean, definitely the speaker, this person is somebody who's experienced in product management and brings array of experiences to share with you guys, right? So maybe what you can do is just to make it more valuable, plot your questions or your challenges that you have in your current role, and we can do it more like a panel Q&A, make use of the time and see how he or she you know, works in her context, basically. All right, I'll figure out a bit more details. We'll communicate to Tanzil and let him put it on the chat for us to know which segment are we doing it, first part of the class or second part of the class, and the profile of the guest speaker. Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Tanzil, for bringing that up. Now, backlog, right? We need to have this discussion about backlog as we speak about prioritization, because the outcome of a prioritization is what we are going to do.
A slide, is it correct?
Yeah, I am in the slide, what, slide 40, slide 39. Are you guys seeing that?
Yeah, the 4 quadrant. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. So the outcome of the prioritization exercise is what you're going to do in the short term, right? So that is your priority. That's your outcome that you're expecting out of the prioritization exercise. Now, the byproduct of the prioritization exercise is your backlog, right? You identify what you will do in the midterm and a long term as well. So you park it in your backlog, and that is essentially in the 2x2 matrix world, it's other quadrants, right? Now, this is only a thinking, right? Or maybe a guideline, right? So there isn't any firm, just give me a minute, guys. So there isn't a firm, you know, hard and cast rules saying that you have to take only Q1, the features that fall in quadrant 1 as a highest priority. It is obvious that you should be taking them to do it immediately. But if you have bandwidth to accommodate, you should still go to quadrant 2, or depending on if it's a low hanging fruit, you can still live with the low value that is being generated. You can pick some of the Q3 as well. So there isn't anybody out there who can determine which is best for you to pick up. But usually the Q1 is like obvious ones that any companies, any team want to start doing it. But the other quadrants are more about Q2 and Q3 is more about how much of bandwidth you have remaining, and how do you want to balance the capacity utilization and stuff like that. So as a general guideline, anything beyond, let's say, you already have good enough amount of features in Q1, in the quadrant 1. So any other quadrants will become backlog in that case, right? Now, I have seen all sorts of backlog, okay? Even in my current company, the first time when I saw the backlog was like a placeholder. It's called literally placeholder 1, placeholder 2, 3. And when I said, what's the value of this backlog, right? What's the value of this epic or of user story? They said, because we wanted to do something with monetization, and it's just a placeholder. And inside there's nothing, right? So how do you groom it? How do you even prioritize it, right? It's not uncommon, as you guys might recollect as well. Premature user stories or epics are quite normal in backlog, but you at least need to know what you're aiming at as you have the backlog already. And that's the entire plan about this 2x2 metrics. So it allows you to at least have a thinking about what you need to do, what is expected out of each of these epics or user stories, whatever is your highest level of feature mapping, right? So it helps definitely in identifying your next steps, As product managers, it allows you, again, this is the backlog management is your, what do you say, is your entirety of the grip about scope creep. The better you manage it, you are in control of scope. You are not going to, you are leaving all those placeholder values there. It's fine, but you need to keep it in control, right? The more placeholders, the more uncertainties you're asking for, and the more scope creeps you're asking for. So as the backlog moves from less certain to more certain, that's the more certain ones are the ones you should promote to sprint. And that should be based on your highest priority work. Now, I think this is just a summary of what we spoke just now, right? We do fortnightly backlog grooming in my current work and my previous work as well. Fortnightly backlog grooming is super common, actually, I would say. And I work in a startup currently, and I was previously in an MNC setup. And while I was actually doing a transformative lead for a government large-scale rollout, we were still grooming fortnightly, and it works perfectly. So every 2 weeks, we spend on the backlog, and we identify these are less certain tasks, which we aren't sure when it's going to come, and then we just push it back. We bring forward some certain tasks, and we try to groom them up, give them more flesh, give them more details about what's the scope, in scope. We also discuss about how can we design the acceptance criteria for them. So we groom it, right? When I say grooming, it's giving more details to them, right? So it gives you a clarity of what's coming up for the next sprint. So we use grooming to look beyond a sprint. Am I having a healthier stream of work for my team for the next 2 sprints? For me, the objective for my team for backlog grooming is we should be looking at a healthier backlog, with high certainties for the next 2 sprints. At any point in time, my backlog grooming should be having a healthier task list for the 2 sprints. And that is an objective for me, for my team in the backlog grooming exercise. Right? So similarly, you can have one for your backlog grooming exercise as well for your team, and set objectives that helps you focus what you're trying to do in that, rather than you go through like 100 items in your backlog and you don't end up anywhere. And go to the sprint planning, nobody's clear on what actually have to be promoted to a sprint to create a sprint, right? So the objective for the backlog grooming, healthily, I would say, when I get out of the grooming session, guys, we need to have at least 2 weeks worth of work ready to go, right? When I say ready to go, it may not be to an extent that you expect in sprint planning, like estimated, test cases written and all these. No, but it should be the level, what is expected, what is in scope, what is out scope, and how would you sign off, at least to that level for the next 2 weeks. I mean, for the next 2 sprints. Any thoughts? Anybody is doing backlog grooming at this point in your work? And how frequent is it if you're doing it? Is it a no, guys? All right. So quite a useful one, actually. Please try using this, because when you're in agile setup, you need to find some window time. And I'll also share, right, because I'm currently managing 3 different locations, of which one location is having a mindset where they are very autonomous. They have decided all the while, 7 years in the business, they have decided what to do and what not to do in terms of the sprint, right? Now, when you ask them to estimate, they have run a free rein. So there comes a back push for us. When I ask them to groom, they'll groom. Most of the details will be in developer's mind, tech lead's mind. But when you see in the user story of it, you wouldn't see that much of a detail there. That's a sign you don't have control over sprint if you're a product manager. So, and most probably, you might end up in missing the sprint goal. So anything that is vague, try to capture it in the backlog movie for the next two sprints at least. In terms of the scope, out scope, user acceptance, etc. Then now with that, after I have pushed several times and stuff, we have started the Sprint Zero day before yesterday, in fact. So it's going good. And probably before our class finish, we'll be getting our first demo already. So I'll keep you posted, guys. What's the outcome? It's a huge transformation for us, actually. It's a step ahead to our IPO journey. So quite an important milestone. Awesome. Who wants to know your backlog? Definitely your development team. Now, the question that often comes is, Priya, even in my current team, the question was the back push. One of the reasons is I don't want my developers to spend a lot of time in meetings. Agree? So one way to tackle this is identify maybe a principal engineer or tech lead who can represent the development team, who has developed a good trust with the members for the grooming. So, and during the sprint planning, bring the developers to the session. So you can reduce fortnightly, maybe max 2 hours, 120 minutes of their time. If there are 5 developers, 120 times 5, it's 600 minutes already, which is a fair amount of time. So if it's a valid push from the team, try to hear it out and see if you can nominate key people for those inputs, right? It can work multiple ways, but if the team can afford to come in for the grooming, might as well do it. Your stakeholders are keen to know because they, like marketing, your pre-sales who have committed to the front lines want to know when is that particular feature coming. Your marketing wants to know to plan the campaign. Your customer operations need to know to build up their support line. So all of these stakeholders are keen to know as well. So don't be restricted thinking your backlog grooming is going to benefit only you and your developers. No. There is an entire part of your organization world who's actually wanting to do it. So it serves a larger purpose. Yeah, and so I really suggest please do that at least fortnightly. In one of my previous companies, where there was literally a super mature team who it's a Japanese MNC, and they do task management like nobody's business, like to a very granular level, subtask level, right? The developers write 3 SQL queries to add in 2 indexes to that level, right? So in that case of mature team, we didn't have a fortnightly, we didn't have a requirement to have fortnightly grooming because there isn't much to groom at all. Product managers know on a daily basis, they look at details, they define the user stories. Developers they have a learning time, like a focus time in Google Calendar, if you know. They have 30 minutes of everyday learning time, own time kind of blocking their calendar, and that is part of their sprint time calculated. So on a sprint basis, the team spends about 5 man-hours on the focus time. That allows them to clarify the priorities, do the groundwork and stuff, and it's very effective in their deliverable, actually, achieving the sprint goal. So you can, in that sense, for that team, we did only monthly grooming. And that grooming was actually looking at least for the 3 sprints. We were able to qualify at least for the next 3 sprints of work for the team. So the team had always its autonomy because we know the team is highly trustable, and the team had its autonomy to bring forward and backward the task between the 3 sprints. Do you have a question?
Actually, yeah, I have a question like about this backlog grooming, right? Is it, example, like we are running a sprint cycle now for 3 weeks? Is it correct to say that this backlog grooming should happen within this sprint cycle, or we can do it after the sprint?
So let me just show you. Not sure how much you can see. Okay, so this is how we are doing in our current work, right? Like I said, we have just started sprint 0 day 1, 21st. How we doing grooming is every other week on a Monday, we either have a sprint planning exercise or a backlog grooming exercise. So it's a 2-week sprint, meaning we will do a mid sprint at a mid sprint point on a Monday. We will do a grooming, right? The backlog grooming for the next 2 sprints. Then the end of the sprint on the same day during the demo day, we will do a sprint planning for the next sprint, and the next day we will start the sprint, right? So it's like you'll spend alternative weeks in grooming for your team. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
And in my case, we have 2 streams, discovery and delivery. So I want the discovery team to focus on innovating and iterating qualifying the innovations, while the delivery is more about roadmap execution. So there's 2 parallel streams for a given product team itself, and hence this confusion. But if it's just one product team and they're working on just one sprint cycle, it's pretty straightforward. So it's a 2-week cycle. I start today the sprint, and next week, same day, I will be doing the grooming. And the following, the end of the sprint, we will do a planning for the next day, triggering the following sprint.
But I just have just out of curiosity, if let's say we make the grooming during the sprint period, then will it become some kind of distraction to the team?
Not really. So, like I said, Joe, it really depends on who are required for the grooming. In our case, currently, the world of product owners, you need to be in multiple meetings. Okay, that I seriously think we don't have a shortcut. But what usually comes as a back push is developers should not be dragged in every single meeting, especially these grooming and stuff. So we can let go of developers from this meeting. And like I said, we can nominate the tech leads who have a broader idea of how the application works. So they participate in grooming. We have a design representative participating in the grooming, and we have the product owner. So these 3 key parties are the ones that will be participating in the grooming in our case. And what they do is they just flush out the details, like I say, and they flag up they try to make it more certain to qualify it within the next 2 sprints, right? Then when it goes to the actual sprint planning day, we know that let's say, for example, the top 10 stories are the ones that are going for the next sprint. We groom them in terms of what are the test cases we'll do, what's the acceptance criteria exactly, is that correct, or is that have to be added or removed, whatever it is. And the tech subtask will be created during the sprint planning, right? And the estimations will be done. So we only focus on doing these for the 10 tickets that are meant for sprint planning, for example. While backlog grooming is, we are talking about 3 sprints, which means 30 tickets. And we don't go to that level of details. We only stand at scope out broader user acceptance criteria. And we know, okay, this is roughly what we want to do. We stop there.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. So just a sneak peek for you guys. Our board looks something like this. This is the delivery board that we have just started. It's a sprint setup, and we haven't started the discovery as you saw in the plan. It's going to start next week, 28th, because we realized that some of the key tech people that are required in discovery meetings are the ones that are required in delivery meetings. So if we keep it in the same time block, it becomes a conflict for them to prioritize their own meetings. And it may be biased because if you're a key person in discovery, you will prioritize your own stream meetings. So to break that, we have a week time gap between discovery and deliveries sprint cycle. Okay. Yeah, that's how we are organized. Just 2 cents for you guys. Zoom, you had a question?
No, I'm just asked one of them whether you have experience or not. I always face a problem where my backlogs, there is a lot of uncertainty inside it. I know it's important to do it, but we are depending on others. Yeah? And sometimes we are not able to proceed because we are uncertain whether on the other side, on the other side, whether they are able to deliver to us for us to proceed or not. In that case, how usually you guys manage your
Sorry, just bear with me, Zoom. I'm not sure if I understand you fully correct because I'm not able to hear you that loud. But my understanding is that there are a lot of uncertainties while you do the backlog. So how do you ensure you deliver it? Is that your question?
Yes, correct. I mean, uncertainty or more dependencies on others.
Yeah.
Backlogs that are more dependencies on others. For example, especially on my team, we are doing the software testing. Yeah? And most of the time it's coming at the last stage, right? So a lot of dependencies on others from the development team, this kind of thing. Yeah. And sometimes we already plan for some sprint, we already prepare for it, but sometimes we are not getting that delivery. So we are stuck somewhere. So I'm just wondering if you guys have an experience on how to manage this kind of product or maybe to manage this kind of stakeholders. Yeah.
Yeah. So our product is, the current one is of that nature actually. We have, for example, we have multiple combination of dependencies. One, like you said, within the team, within the sprint team itself, we could have dependencies for testing, dependencies with developers fixing a bug, so the ticket can't be moved to done, or it's not ready for acceptance, or it is actually bottlenecking in QA, right? So it could be multiple scenarios. This is more sprint team specific dependencies. So to address that, we have this delivery block, for example, what you're seeing in my screen. We have this column, which any team, literally any team in the sprint, any members in the sprint, the ticket they are working on, if they are not able to move forward, they just bring it back and put it in the delivery block. Done. And what they need to do is bring it up. The Scrum Master, or in this case, as of now, it's product manager who's doing it, brings this up in the stand-up and say, hey, what's the blocker and how do we unblock it? So upfront, the team don't sit on it and show it in progress. If you're not moving with it, you are putting it in block, or it goes to the ready for dev, for example, or a backlog, right? So in this case, that's how we manage sprint specific bottlenecking. So I understand, or I could imagine in my previous companies, what we did is there could be 5 tasks in testing in progress. We have no idea what is actually in progress, what is not moving, what he will complete in a day, and so forth. So learning from there, for this team, what we did is we just created any member in the sprint. You guys are facing a block, just put it in the delivery block. And it's up to the product manager and the team to just address it in the daily stand-up. Because if this is blocked, then it may block some other tickets as well, right? So they have to clear this block. They have to keep this free on a daily basis. That's their objective number 1 for stand-up. That way, we are kind of removing the bottleneck between one another in a sprint. Now, between a stakeholder, we have dependencies in our project. Like I said, we are like multiple team in a product, right? Like that. So you see you have like 5-6 teams easily, and this team, the CGI team, is the one who develops the middleware with the tax office. So when they develop the middleware with the tax office, all they do is they develop it in the UAT, and the tax office, the directorate of the tax office in Indonesia, give them a license based on this, whatever they have done in UAT. They don't go to production. And once the license is obtained, they will then, the CGI team will then hand over to the front-end module management, which is the actual application layer, which is this invoice team. And they will say, hey guys, we have applied this e-Metroid license. We have got the license with the Directorate of Tax Office. What that means is they have completed the UAT implementation based on the guidelines set by the tax office. And it's good to go, taken over by the voice team to build out the actual production front end and integrate and so on and so forth. So there is a dependency in this case, as you obviously see. What this guys complete impacts this guys. And when this guys can pick that over, also has a dependency for this guys, right? So, obviously there are code meaning the admin module as well. So if there are additional rules have to be created, then the teams are dependent on these team actually. So there is inter-team dependencies as well. We manage it in broadly 2 ways. Obviously you would have done this as well. We link tickets, mapping the dependencies to each other's boards. And when you open a user story, you know where are the dependency areas, and that is again discussed in the stand-up, right? That's the role of a Scrum Master, to take it offline and find out when is this coming, and come and update them during the day or the next stand-up if you can wait. The other way we do it is the backlog grooming. That is one of the purpose we use grooming for. We identify what are the user stories that will have dependencies if we pick it up in sprint. And we clarify post grooming, we clarify the product owner or the manager or Scrum Master in any case, clarify it with the respective teams. Hey, we are planning to put this in the next sprint. Do you guys have the first piece dependencies completed already? When is this coming? So when they go to sprint planning, they decide likewise.
Okay, good, understood.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All good. Yeah. Let me go back to my screen.
Priya, I think Dharma raised her hand. So.
Oh, Dharma, go ahead, please.
I think it's ready to. But Priya, just like to ask your experience. How do you deal with the team who's new to Scrum or Agile? Because when you talk about backlog grooming as even stand-ups, right? There seems like they are still into their earlier practice and they can't adapt to this Agile. I'm having the difficulty. So do you have any experience with this?
I'll show you the reality of it, Dharma. Just give me a minute. I am trying to show you something here. Okay. Guys, like I said, I'm currently leading a major transformation for my company, right? So I'm just going to show you the magnitude of how much it took to reach this point, the sprint 0 day 1 for delivery. Actually, right? So imagine, when is this group created? This group was created sometime in March. Okay, I started with creating the socialization platform to pitch in what are the product concepts that will work for our company. Even before that, I'm just trying to show you the magnitude of how long it could take realistically, and I'm acknowledging it totally. It's a challenge, right? So if you see, I started sometime in March doing this. I put up conceptually what can work for us, what doesn't work for us, on a structural level, on a framework level. Then on a product level, I call the initiative as Product Factory. And I started mapping out how we can conceive the process from the discovery to the delivery. So from the point We qualify a feature to be channeled in discovery. How do I qualify it? Who signs off it? Who checks it? What are the artifacts that I need out of a discovery that I will then promote it to the delivery? And how do delivery actually execute it? And how do I test the delivery? How do I qualify it's done? Who are the people to sign off? And then how do I push it to production? So this channel is what we call as product factory. And we started sometime conceptualizing in March on how broadly we needed it, on the overall process overview and stuff like that, right? So once I did that, this product forum came about in picture. I then realized I've been doing it on my own with a C-suite, and there was a discontinuity with the ground levels. So I started creating the product forum, picked the product owners as the key actors for this entire product factory, and started, you see here, it's product ideas, pain points, priority clarifications forum. So we started throwing out ideas, saying, hey, this is what it is. Then I started having some cadence meeting them and sharing with them what are the ethics they are working on, how they can improve it, stuff like that. Still no process established, okay? No sprint established. This is back in March, and I just started only 21st to formalize it. Took me that long. It's a startup, okay? And imagine if it's an MNC, what happens? That's why MNCs plan out 6-month roadmap, 1-year roadmap, 18 months program roadmap, and they go in phases rolling out these. And this product forum is one of the channels. And I have just no C-suites. As you see the Slack, it's no C-suites. This is with the C-suite. So I saw some inhibitions, some filtered messages coming in. People were hesitant to throw some tough messages there, like, leave unhappy messages here. So I created a safe place for them to just throw out the feedback as well. That's when they started saying, I'm a bit lost because there's a lot circulating around. So this is the reality of it, what I'm sharing, yeah. It is this kind of journey that you need to expect when you're doing a transformation, when you're training a team that has zero knowledge in Scrum, that has zero knowledge in Sprint, but that's the direction you decide to move forward. Okay. We then, once I had this product forum, I had a cadence with them training it. It become a bit more, tolerant among the team, and conducted a workshop recently with the teams, and we got into the detail level, like how I expect them to create an epic. So if I can just, so this is the level that I got. I had to keep them, like what I expect the hierarchy as. Initiative is what, epic is what is the user story expected, what is the task expected, and who will be using it, and what level, right? And these are the structures that we were using in our company for the Jira. For example, if it's an initiative 1, it maps to an epic 1, where it maps to a user story, and subtask level, we will have 4 segregations: UI, solution, dev, QA. And tasks are usually purely for tech and tech devs. So I don't want the product owners to use this, right? So we created a rhythm. We tried to automate it. All of these, by the way, is automated in the Jira at the moment. We are testing as we speak, and we're pushing it in the Jira boards. So what I'm trying to say is a transformation is a holistic view. You can't just expect preaching something to the people and getting them on board. I can completely understand. That's highly frustrating as well. But going to their side of shoes, they need details before they feel comfortable making a change. So you need to get to this level of details. What is expected? What are the artifacts? What to expect out of the journey? And I'm more than happy to share with you some insights, Dama, right? Let me see if I can just bring up this as well. I developed a process map, which I use to communicate with them. And as you see, it can't be simpler. So if you see the, is it visible or like too small for you guys? Maybe I'll just go like that. So if you see here, the actors for this delivery process is product owner, QA, engineering, and the stakeholders for sign off. Yeah. So I want the stakeholders, the frontliners, to sign off at certain stages that this thing is coming. So I want the hands and the involvement, even if the delivery execution is purely by the first 3 layers of actors. Yeah. So that's how we design the process. At each step, people know, for example, these stars are nothing but the ceremonies themselves. So the actors, the ceremonies that fall in the respective lane of actors, they are in charge of arranging the ceremonies. Product owners, for example, will have to arrange pre-development sign-off, sprint planning session. And here, the daily stand-ups is engineering. So anybody in the engineering, it's up to the engineering team to decide. Can be a tech lead, can be developers rostering it. But this ceremony, these 2 ceremonies are from engineering team. And at what point a decision takes place, and what is expected out of the decision, and what will be the sign-off, and who has to facilitate it. So this is the level of detail that the team expected out of me to take this leap forward, right? I had a few change champions in different countries, but I need to empower them with more details so they can speak to the team with confidence that this is going to work. Yeah, I know it's like kind of super messy information for you, but I'm more than happy to spend some time with you one-on-one. If you need some third eye to look at where you are, and maybe I can do some details. Yeah, cool.
I guess to put everyone on board is the most difficult part.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Talking
especially the sign off.
They drag us to the old way again. Because you are the only alone there that would, yeah.
You're the only one who's supposed.
Yeah. It's like I'm talking alien language.
And my past experience teach me one thing is the so-called sign off culture is actually depend on the company culture actually.
Yeah.
Like if you are in the corporate world, then they actually practice this very closely and then never miss. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I decided to do like baby step right now.
I came up with that kind of a detailed diagram like what Priya just showed you. But at the end of it, a kind of a cartoon image will be much more easier for my stakeholders to understand.
Yeah. No, I'm kind of a boring person in that way. I can't, I don't know, I haven't mastered the art of making it more comical. But believe me, my change champions are. So they take the language from me and they transfer to a more viable one, more digestible one.
The problem is that the more detail you show, the more question will come.
Yeah. And you can imagine, I work for a French CEO, and he's like, this super detail oriented. Where is the thin line falling? That kind of thing. So he needs exactly to know who needs to act what and what is the artifact out of it. Just to, since Dama, you brought up the sign-off one, this is how we do the sign-off ceremonies. We have pre-release, we identify, we have a given window, right? And in the Slack, we have a communication channel that says sign or pre-development. Okay, here. So we have a dedicated Slack channel for pre-development pre-release sign-offs, and we have a change champion that facilitates that. And what happens is the product owners say that they have, for example, this is one of the product owner. He says he has 2 pre-development sign-offs for today. And what happens is on the sign-off page, they then, this template is created by the change champion who facilitates it. And we identify whether it's pre-release or not, the product owner themselves. And this is the epic that will be presented by the product owner. The PRD, if it's a pre-release, ideally they should have a demo link. Like I said, it's a new process, so we are getting them on board slowly. The test result and the sign-off parties. So it's, and if there are any comments during the sign-off, then we note it down here, the review comments, right? So we run through this kind of ceremony that ensures at least people are like aware that this is coming up. because we have historically issues. I don't know that this is in production. When was this? Because we need to get the legal license and this is not in place. So pull this back. So you have the worst cases, you have 5,000 customers already signed up. And what are you going to tell them when you want to pull it back? So all of these confusion can happen when you operate in a highly regulated environment and no process. Right? So that's why we use the sign-off form actually. All right, Chief. Okay, I was whining more my own story then. Cool, guys. Backlog, I don't use any specific model for my backlog, okay? Use your intuition, feel your team, because every team is different. Every team has their strengths and weaknesses. But just have your own philosophies from your own belief system and what you learn, what you see out that works best for the companies and that doesn't work. And this is generally a thumb rule, right? Keep as detailed as possible. Whenever I use the word backlog, imagine I'm talking about the next 3 sprints in a sprint setup. Because you could have, I'm not a big fan of having more than, let's probably say 80 over tickets in a backlog. Okay, I solidly believe it is to be cracked. Okay, it is a bit crappy if it gets beyond 100 epics in the backlog. I rarely or ever seen a company who looks at the 150th item in their backlog. Okay, so why fuss when you don't actually use it? So be bold, acknowledge the fact, and keep your backlog limited. That helps your team be focused rather than, they just go all over it every grooming exercise, like 200 over and they're getting lost. Categorize them. That's the sole role of a product manager or owner along with the Scrum Master.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
That only works if you're starting the project with Agile, right? What if halfway through it was not Agile and suddenly you put into Agile and there's a lot of things in your backlog? What's your opinion on this?
Same as well. I would say the same as well. My story is the same. Halfway through, and these guys are not zero Agile, by the way. They were in Kanban, and where is these guys? So they used to be in Kanban, and this is this board, okay, which is in Kanban. And now we have moved them to this board, which is a Scrum. So if I just go to this backlog, I can just show you very clearly. There are 125, as I said. And you know what? Nobody takes care of anything here, no grooming, nothing. Right? And that's exactly why we made a switch. We decided, kill the board, right? Kill the board.
Okay.
Yeah, that's an easy way than cleaning it. Who really cares about going through the 200 and identify what's needed?
Yes.
So, yeah, sorry, I just speak very lame language. That's real time applicable. Okay.
I kill it as well.
Just kill the board. that's my go-to method. Create a new one, identify which one is high priority for you, and start from there down.
Yeah, thanks.
There isn't a way to look back and correct your past, but there's always a way to start fresh. Cool. That's the backlog project. I think we have discussed more or less there. Well, guys, that's it from me for today. Any questions? Any thoughts? Awesome. If not, I'm going to send you back 10 minutes earlier today. Enjoy your night. I will see you next Tuesday. Like I said, there will be, I will confirm the details, who's going to be the speaker, the profile, but please prepare your questions from the point of your struggles, right? In your current role or your aspiration to be a product manager in any product management space or anything, right? But I will fill you up with details through Tanzil. Okay. Okay.
Okay, guys. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Let's
have a good
have
night.
early tonight. chill.
Thank you. Good night.
All good, Joes.
you, bye-bye.
Thanks.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night. Good night. Thanks.
Good. Cheers. Bye.
Okay, Priya.
Yeah. See you. Cheers.